Well, I didn't realize that at age 53 almost, I'll still be learning things about finance. And I thought it was too late for me. But then again, this book happened in 2016. It's called The Smart Money Woman by Arese Agwu, and it turned things around. While I was happy for my daughters and younger women out there that they have something they can work with, I was able to take a few things out of it. So it's my pleasure to introduce in this new year, Arese Agwu. Come on. The good thing about Arese is that I can afford to tell you, boy, here, and let me see what she will say. You're welcome, darling.
Thank you so much for
I'm
having me.
so proud of you. Proud that, you know, some woman, it doesn't matter that there are a lot of financial books out there. It didn't matter that many people were already doing what you want to do.
Yeah.
You just set out to write this book and then boom.
I've been so lucky. I didn't expect the response that I got from the book, but it is overwhelming, like how women will send me emails and DMs on Instagram saying, Arese, this book has changed my life and it's reframed the way that I think about money. Because it's in a very African context. I felt like the book dealt with a lot of issues that young women like me... You know, I wanted to be very real because in university, I was obsessed with this series called Sex and the City and things like Gossip Girl. And one of the things I loved about them was that they showcased New York, so in a very real way. So you'd hear about having breakfast at Sarah Beth's or going to the plaza or, you know, about Manolo's, very like American brands or very New York brands, and you kind of felt like you were a New Yorker. So I really wanted the book to do the same kind of thing for Lagos. So that even if a foreigner was reading it, they would sort of guess the vibe of what it meant to be, you know, Nigerian or live in Lagos because of all the brands.
So it was deliberate.
Mentioned. It was very deliberate.
So it was a conscious thought.
It was.
But started writing the book, was it conscious though?
Okay, you know, I like to tell people that it wasn't, you know how people grow up saying, oh my God, I'm going to be an author or I'm going to write a book one day. It was never a goal.
In fact, your mom said...
My mom was reading the book, and at one point she was really laughing, and she was like, oh my God, Arese, you've done so well, but I have to be honest, I'm not trying to be mean, but out of all my 4 children, you are the last person that I expected to write a book. Yeah.
So what prompted it? Because, I mean, there you are, a young woman working in the financial sector, just going through a painful separation with a husband you thought it was forever.
Yes, I definitely thought. I was your typical African millennial. I thought my life was going to go in a certain progression, you know, get married, have babies, have a fantastic job, be a rock star in that job. And, but then I found that, you know, we're not adequately prepared for emergencies. So here I am, my marriage falls apart, I'm 27, and I basically have to start my life all over again. Find a new apartment, buy new furniture, all with like my 1-year-old child in tow. And it was extremely expensive. And I just thought, it was like an aha moment for me because I thought, clearly you have not been saving and investing enough as in for this to happen to you. So it got me thinking about the fact that, you know, young women like me or young people like me, you might be really smart, but if you don't understand how money works, you're not going to make great decisions. So I was wondering, who is talking to like African millennials like me in a language that we understand? Because, you know, my generation, we don't like to hear things in a very preachy way. We don't want to hear, don't do this and don't do that. But if you say it in stories and a language that we understand, we're going to like, identify with it like more.
So how long did it take you to write the book? Because you've been writing a column already. You already had these little videos you were doing, trying to teach women to be smart
with their money. It took me a 1.5 years, which now I'm finding is not necessarily like a particularly long time, but
you thought it was
I
forever.
set this unrealistic goal for myself of how I was going to write the book in 3 months. And then when I didn't write it in 3 months, I was beating myself up. It was such a tough process, but I'm so glad like I took the time and I didn't rush it because I don't think that would have had the impact that it has.
Okay, so it's a practical book.
It is. So it's fictional. It tells a story about 5 Nigerian girls, their personal finance journey.
Being Zuri. Are you Zuri? Okay, Zuri wasn't even married. Right?
Zuri wasn't married.
Yes.
Zuri and 5 of her friends, I feel like they all have different backgrounds. Every Nigerian woman can relate to at least one character.
One is from a rich home.
Yeah.
One struggles
through school. One has, you know, we have those things like people who, they're really smart, they have really good jobs, but they also have a lot of dependence.
Living on the edge.
Exactly. Like, so Lara, for example, she's an oil and gas executive. She earns a good salary, but her dad died really young, so she's responsible for her mom and her siblings. So it means she has to pay their rent, she has to pay school fees, and all of that stuff. So those financial obligations put
even
pressure on her personal.
You had one that was a stay-at-home
mom.
The husband wanted her to stay back.
Yeah, well, her husband wanted her to stay back. She was just more of a, listen, I was poor growing up. I married into like this rich family. Now I'm a big babe. You know, saying things like, I don't cross the bridge unless I'm going to the airport. And listen, sister,
because she was in Ikoyi.
Yeah, because she was in Ikoyi. And you know, the book basically touches on personal finance issues that in a very African context with things, because I find that if you go on Google, they'll be telling you about 401ks or, you know, student debt loan problems, but those things are not pertinent to how we deal and relate with money in Africa. So I wanted it to touch on societal issues, things like marriage, things like how money becomes like sort of a center of everything that we sort of do, the choices that we make. And so it's fictional, but at the end of each chapter, there's smart money lessons.
Did you talk to, I mean, because even money issues still arose even with Zuri's mother, you know, the generational...
Exactly. Things that you'd never find in a European or American book. Things that are very, like, Niger. So I said the book is very
African, really.
It's quite African. I found that the pain points were the same because I went on a book tour. So I went to South Africa, I went to Accra, and I found that the pain points were essentially the same.
What are the pain points?
So with money, so things like we have this in South Africa, I found out that they call it black tax. So where you have to basically look after your parents because they've invested so much in your own education and for you to do well. And the mentality is now, it's time for you to look after us. And in South Africa, they were saying to me, listen, I came out of university, got my first job, then, you know, my parents started asking me to take a loan so that I could look after them. And you already start out the gates at a disadvantage.
So we all have financial issues.
Yes, we all have financial issues.
And these financial issues also, with the book, you're helping people to learn how to manage
money better.
Even if you're rich.
Yes. Because, you know, in Africa, we grew up, the focus is always on how to make money, but there's no formal framework that teaches us how to keep it or grow it. So someone who comes out of university and is doing youth service is saying, you know, I'll save and invest when I have more money. I'll save and invest when I hit, because the mentality is that it's only for rich people. But the reality is the way you spend 10 naira is the way you're going to spend 10 million. So you find that person, 5 years down the line, they've been promoted several times. They're probably earning 10 times their salary, but their consumption has essentially risen to meet their incomes. So they're not saving and investing. What is happening is now I'm a banker, so I have to look how a banker looks.
It's a perfect spot at which I must take a break so that we can
bring it together
at the panel discussion. Thank you, Arese.
Thank you so much.
I appreciate you.